Hey guys, just had this 2012 Altima dropped off. The girl's sister backed into her. I'll probably get that car later on. But this girl's trying to get back to college for the fall semester, and she's trying to head out in a few days. So I'm trying to knock it out before they need to leave. I'm going to replace the fender and just feather this paint out here in the bumper where it's taking the paint off, and try to do a little spot repair. Come around maybe to this body line right in here, and just back mask it. And just paint this one section. I'll have to see what it looks like once I get this feathered and how far I got to go with the primer, but that's the plan, is just to leave the bumper on the car. Probably gonna have to pull the headlight just to replace the fender and everything, but main thing is gonna be replacing the fender, and I'm gonna paint it all together. That way I can leave it on the car, and as soon as I'm finished with it and it sets up, they can come pick it up and she can get out of here instead of having to mount it after I get the fender painted. And it is a pearl white, so they did say they don't want to worry about blending the door, just because it's a kid's car, and they just want it fixed to where she can get out of here with it. I'll be back in a minute once I get some stuff pulled off, get this fender that I've got for it fitted. Alright, I was able to pull the the fender off before the headlight. Then I got to the back of it, got the plugs off, pulled it out, and I actually had to drop this in kind of from the top, work it around the hood, and then get it down in behind. Rocker panel trim here, finally worked it in. Looks like it's going to fit pretty well. I wanted to test fit it before I put the paint on the inside edges, but I want to leave it on the car. So now that I know it's going to fit, the holes aligned, and it's going to fit the hood pretty well. When I checked earlier with the bolt in it, I'm going to go ahead and pull it right back off. Just throw a little white around the edges. I'm not going to worry about putting any pearl there. Go ahead and get it back on the car. And then while the paint's drying on the edges there, I'm going to feather this out, put some primer on it so they can sit. I want to try to paint this potentially tomorrow or Monday, Saturday morning right now. I'm going to go ahead and get it back off, shoot a little paint on the edges, trim it out, and put it back on the car. Alright, I've got the BMW in here, and I actually got my Tesla about a week ago. It's right here. And got the fans blowing this way out. I don't want to do this out in the sun, so I can't get these cars out. I don't want it to get rained on. We've had some off and on rain yesterday and today. What I'm going to do is shoot the front of this thing first, so that when I flip it over, it'll be touching on two of the outside points, and none of the wet paint will touch the rack. If I did the inside first, you can see that part of the inside jam is touching the rack there, and it would leave a mark in the paint back here. So I always lay them face up like this, shoot this area with some white here, bottom, and then this front face of this tab that'll be upside down when I flip it over. So I'll shoot that right there, bottom, front, and that way I can grab it and here, flip it over like this. And I'll actually turn it around facing me, but I'll be able to get to this inside edge and this back edge here completely, and then shoot the top, and nothing will get touched that's wet. Everything that's wet will be out here, outside face of that, and the back of this, and none of that's touching the rack. So I'm going to go ahead and get this thing, I'm not going to worry about tacking it on those spots. I'm just going to blow it off real well. I've got some adhesion promoter sprayed in here, these places that are hard to sand. So I'll get you set up over here on the car, and I'll just shoot some on the outside, flip it, do the inside, try to get good coverage. Doesn't have to be 100% coverage back in these areas where it's going to get covered up, but definitely want to get about 2 coats on the inside edge where the hood's going to open up on it, where you can see it. Also forgot to mention that I'm not going to put hardener in this base coat because I want it to be solvent sensitive around the edges. If I just happen to not sand the entire thing, miss a spot or two, it'll actually stick to it when I go to put the base coat on the outside of the car. If I put hardener in it, then you got to sand it after 8 hours. I'm about to put a little white on it. I don't know if I got enough left. I'm using some leftover Honda white that I had off a Civic, and I'm going to make up for it on some Toyota white. I'll run out of this, and then I'll get the actual mix for the car on the outside. ran out. I need a little bit more for the top edge. I'm good on the other sides that are going to get hidden. We'll get a little bit more and I'll finish it up. I'll be back in just a little bit. I'm going to start on the bumper. Alright, here's the final product on the fender. Got it jammed. I'm over here working on the bumper. I've got all the paint feathered out. I hit it with 180 real quick, just if I start feathering it out, get the step out of it. Then I went over it with 400. Then all this is red Scotch-Brite. And I'm hitting it with some adhesion promoter, just because some of this is down to the raw plastic. So I'm just going to hit that with a light coat, just on this plastic parts where I broke through. And I'm going to give it about 5 minutes and hit it one more time with another light coat. And I'll be mixing up the primer while it's flashing off. And I'll put probably just a couple of coats here. I don't need a whole lot. I'm just going to hand sand it anyway. I don't have to worry about cutting through with a sander. So get a couple of coats there. Let that sit tonight and try to prep everything else for paint. Get the fender on it and all that. Come back and just wet sand this. And have this thing ready to paint tomorrow. Get this thing out of here so she can get back to school. Alright, ready for primer. I'll just show you the first coat, and then I'll put one more on it after about 10 or 15 minutes, and that'll be it. It'll get a little bit of guide coat at that point. Alright, I got it fitted up, got that wet sanded out, just got everything kind of put together temporarily. The fender and the headlight will be are permanently in, but I need to pop this thing back again to put this plug back in behind the bumper. I took that out so that I can not have to worry about sanding it and painting it too. I'm just going to have some paper behind here to keep from blowing paint in there and getting in trash blowing back through. What I'm going to do is just sand up to this edge and probably run some of this foam tape that I've got along that line right there and just come off this edge and then blend it in right in there. And I'll just paint this section. I'll just put color in here, clear all the way over to this spot here. Even though there's some chips and stuff in here, that's a little bit of wet sand and sludge, but there's some chips and all in here, but I'm just gonna have to clear it and leave it. Nothing I can do about it. It's gonna be basically a one-day job. I could paint it now, but I don't have time. I gotta go somewhere, but if I got it painted now, let it sit for a few hours, I can put it back together and it'd be a one-day deal. Got all this done in about 3 or 4 hours, I think. When we get the wheel off, I've got it way up in the air now so that I can be able to sand under here and see what I'm doing and get some clear under there. Come around this edge with it. And with the wheel out of the way, I won't have to worry about getting white paint on it. Then I'll be able to get the gun inside here. So I'm gonna get this masked off. Be ready to go for tomorrow afternoon. We've got foam tape in here that'll seal the hood to it, and also ram the excess just along the headlight. The hood will come down here. I'll probably just put some tape here if there's still a gap, just to cover this up. When you're painting white, you get white on anything it shows. Got a little bit of a gasket touch in there. I'll have to get some trim tape, pull it back, and just tape all this off, and try to stick some tape in it at an angle to seal this area off. I'm going to white seal it and come back with probably one coat of Toyota white that I've got I need to get rid of out on top of that sealer, and then I'll come back with a couple coats of this Nissan white. I only bought half a pint, just enough to get by on this one, so hopefully that's enough. We'll go ahead and get the wheel off, get it masked off, and I'll be painting it next. Alright, we're ready to go here. I've got this sanded up to the peak, and I just taped it about 1/8 inch off that peak line in the bumper, and I just laid a piece of foam tape up against it so that I'll get a soft edge in here. I may come back and polish it out. We'll see how it looks when I'm done. That's all scuffed with lightly with a red Scotch-Brite all down in there. So this is going to get adhesion promoter before I put anything else on it in this area, 222S, and then I'll come back with white sealer. Get the fender, and then I'll overlap my sealer onto the bumper just a little bit here to cover that, because that's going to take a little while to cover with this white. So I'll go ahead and seal that and just let the sealer blend into the bumper, and I'll end up taking the white for the car, covering the fender with at least 2 coats, and then coming down this way and blending across this direction. Then I'll bring the pearl over that way also, and then end up with just clear out on the front edge. I've got the old fender back here, and I've cleaned it really well in this area. I'm going to use this with a spray out card. Once I get the spray out card into base coat, I'll put one coat of pearl on the spray card, check it on here, put one on the car, see how it matches the original. And if we got a good match there, I may just leave it, but most likely you go with 2 coats of pearl at least. So if it's a little bit off, I'll put another coat on the spray card, check it on here, so I can check it straight on and check the flop. And then I'll check it against the, check it against that fender, and I'll come back and put that second coat or third or fourth or whatever I need to make it match that original fender over there. I'll do the same thing to the car and just get it as close as I can for them. I'm going to go ahead and get my adhesion promoter out. I'll spray a little bit of that on the bumper, and then I'll mix up the sealer while it's flashing off and just put it on within a few minutes of putting that adhesion promoter on. Alright, we want to mix the sealer up now. Alright, I'm ready for sealer. I've got this masked a little bit so that while I put the sealer on the fender, I'm not getting overspray on this the whole time. So as soon as I'll start on the fender, work my way down, probably maybe even shoot this back here first and then work my way up so I can end up over in this area. And then I'll pull this paper off, tack cloth the bottom of this, and then put a little sealer right over where that primer is, but I don't want to be getting overspray on that the entire time I'm putting it on the fender. Alright, I'm ready for base coat. I'm going to take it all the way over to this, just about this corner of the bumper, because I've got sealer right in there, got a cover. So I'm going to take the color over the fender and all the way down the side. So all this is the same color. And I'll take the pearl from there over the same area, but extend it another few inches into here. But I want to try to leave all that in there, just the original color. I'll go ahead and tack it off, and I'll spray it. Alright, just going to get at least one more coat. That ought to be good, but I'll have to wait till it dries to really know if I can stop there. Then we'll start on the pearl. Alright, I'm over here checking my spray card. I've got 2 coats and then a third rough coat. It's still a little bit light. I've got 2 full coats of pearl and 1 light mist coat. It's still a little bit light. I don't know if you can tell it or not, but it's a little bit lighter. And I haven't done the same thing here on the car yet. I need to put another third mist coat over it to start to get it rougher. The only way to darken this is going to make it just, or putting it on rougher is going to make it darker. As you can see, it matches the car identically. Because I've done the same thing to this as I have to the car, except I got to put 1 more coat of pearl on the car. But this piece here is still a little bit light. So I'm going to put that third mist coat on the car, but I'm not going to worry about this area down in here because this is already blended into the original finish. All I've got to worry about is the match at the hood and then down the door. So I'm going to take that third coat and go across the top edge and then blend, like I'm just going to blend color this way. Just blend about 6 inches off the door, come all the way down. Then I'll check my color again. And I'll put a 4th coat on this and see if I'm dead on. If I'm even closer, I'll go do the same thing on the car over there, but I'll stay within that area just at the top and the back end just so I can match those 2 panels and just kind of blend it out into the rest of it, because that's not going to have to be the same exact coverage right in here as I've got back here. If I can blend it through here, match the door and the hood, then that's the goal. I'm going to go ahead and get that third coat on this after it's dry enough to tack it, and I'll put a 4th coat on this and check it against the old fender, and I'll probably put a 4th coat on the fender, and hopefully that'll be all I need. I'll be back for clear. Alright, just going to get 1 more coat. I'll be back in just a minute. Just a quick look before it leaves. Color matched, decent. It's a little bit light, but I put 4 coats of pearl on it. And I still didn't get it quite as dark, but out here in the sun it looks even better. You can see at the bottom there's a slight difference, but it's actually pretty decent for not blending it. You see the front bumper, you can't really even tell where the blend stops. Just masked it right on that edge. Just aimed the headlight and washed it. Got it ready to go. See you guys later.